This division is pretty broad with three key sections. You have the energy, infrastructure, and services section. You have the innovative finance and capital market section, as well as the agriculture and business enabling environment section. We have been busy in all these three sections. Let me start with the energy, infrastructure, and services section. Our work here has been in the area of transport, obviously, and energy. And in transport, we have been handling road safety. Many people may not know, but up to 300,000 people die every year on Africa's roads as a result of crashes. This is more than the number of people who have died from COVID-19 pandemic. That is one. More people die disproportionately on the continent compared to other regions of the world. And that is why ECA is working with member states to develop national road safety strategies. In the past 6 months, we've worked with two countries, Eswatini, where we've developed a national road safety strategy. It was launched a couple of weeks ago by the Prime Minister of the country, the Kingdom of Eswatini. We've also developed a national road safety action plan for the Gambia, and now we are helping these countries to identify specific elements in the action plan to implement. And I can highlight here the regulatory environment, the legal framework for road safety, which is quite weak in many African countries. We will continue to support them to strengthen the road safety legislation. In terms of air transport, this is something that we have been working and we will continue to work on. As many people know, it's quite expensive to fly in Africa. It is also the continent that is really, really disconnected in terms of air travel. So you leave Addis Ababa, you want to go to Rabat, you have to fly through Paris. It's quite complicated, or you have to go to Istanbul. To solve this problem, we have what we call the Yamoussoukro decision for the liberalization of air transport markets on the continent. So what we are doing, working with the African Union and the African Civil Aviation Commission, is to analyze gaps in the implementation of the Yamoussoukro decision. And what have we done? ECA, we have developed a methodology to identify the gaps in the implementation of the decision, which is essentially the single African air transport market. So we have done that in Cameroon, Cape Verde, and Rwanda. Based on the gap assessment, we've assisted these countries to develop action plans to basically fast-track liberalization of air transport services. Now, in the area of energy, we have been doing quite a bit as well. Many people talk about private sector investment in the energy sector. But the private sector will not invest if the regulatory environment is not attractive, is not open, is not ready for the private sector to step in. That is why the Private Sector Development and Finance Division of ECA has undertaken reviews of the regulatory environment in the energy sector for 16 African countries. Going forward, we've identified the reforms that are required in these countries to make them more attractive to the private sector. So we'll be helping this or working with these countries to see how to implement some of the reforms that we have identified. Now, the innovative finance and capital market section is another core component of the work of our division. And in this area, there are a number of elements, if you like, that we are helping or working with member states. I think the one is the security exchanges. Many African countries still don't have stock exchanges, also don't have regional stock exchanges that can help us to generate capital to invest in infrastructure, agriculture, and so on and so forth. That's why we're taking this very seriously. Only 2 weeks ago, we signed ECA, a memorandum of understanding with the African Security Exchanges Association. And this will enable us to work with this association to build the capacity to undertake research on issues related to stock exchange. One big area of concern in investment in Africa is credit rating. I think African countries are consistently rated as poor, and this has implications for attracting capital, because the poorer your credit rating is, the more expensive it is to borrow. That's why ECA is working with the African Union out of NEPAD, APPRM Secretariat, to work on an African credit rating agency. Another area that we have been working together with TCND, our sister division, is the carbon credit market. Earlier this year, there was a whole African business forum on the carbon credit market, and the idea is how can we use this to generate resources that will help in the energy transition on the continent. And let me end perhaps with our work on agriculture and business enabling environment. I think food system is becoming a serious problem on the continent for many reasons. Climate change is affecting the production food, affecting food security, the conflict in Ukraine, and this is why ECA is increasingly playing a role to strengthen the food systems on the continent. And one of the things that I would like to add as well, that we have been working in the past 6 months and will continue to work, is a nexus between land policy and investment in infrastructure. In many instances, land policy could be a constraint to investment in infrastructure. For instance, you want to build a road, you need to acquire the land, or you want to build solar plants, solar panel, you need the land as well. So how is the land policy in African countries affecting investment in infrastructure? So this is an area that we are looking into with a view to coming up with policies that will facilitate, that will make land as a facilitator or not a constraint to infrastructure.